Hey y'all, Kobe R. Rice here, and welcome to episode number 51 of the epic fantastical journey of a black female sci-fi writer. Again, I'm Kobe R. Rice, sci-fi, fantasy, urban epic fantasy novelist, and the host of this show. Um, as you can imagine, I am in a very merry mood because today is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody out there. I hope that you guys are spending some time with friends, family, eating Christmas dinner, exchanging gifts, but most importantly, just like sharing the love and the warmth of the holiday, and also just like relaxing because it's really one of the few days that most of us, not all of us, but a lot of us have off during the year. So, as you can see, I have my little Christmas hat on here, but it was like too small. I actually bought this for my daughter out of the dollar store, and it looks adorable on her, but it looks terrible on me. But I just felt like it needed to be festive today. I don't know. I might take it off for the end of the podcast. But as promised, I wanted to come back and give you guys an update that is, I hope, will be as short as possible. I don't foresee it being any shorter than 45 minutes, only because I am giving you not only the update for what I've been doing creatively and just professionally for the past week, but I'm also giving you my Q4 roundup. So that is the creative achievement roundup for October, November, and December up until yesterday, basically. And that is the last roundup I'm going to give you before I post another vlog and podcast this Sunday, December 31st, just summarizing the entire year. And that is going to be just insanely long and crazy. I'm actually halfway done. Actually, a little bit more than halfway done with the entire blog post and the series of recordings that I've put together, which I'm really happy with the way that I've structured the roundup this year. And you guys will get to see that and experience that on Sunday. But I'm almost done with that, and that is super duper long. But this one hopefully will not be as long. So just to get into it, let's talk about what I've done for this past week. Now that graduate school is out, it has been pretty much over for the past 11 days. Today will make day number 11. This Thursday will make 2 weeks exactly. And I still honestly have not recuperated at all, y'all. I mean, little by little, I regain my strength and my energy and, try to stay out of the crazy, but it's really hard to do so. Excuse me as I look at my phone because I have to pull up my notes. But I realized that graduate school has made me very, very trained to not feel entirely comfortable with doing nothing all day, which I guess is a nice thing when you're like a hard worker and you have good work ethic and you have all this work to get done. It's good to kind of feel on your toes, but it really gets in the way in terms of how I feel unable to rest completely and fully. Even though I'm resting my body, I'm not really pushing myself to go anywhere or do anything per se. I still feel mentally and kind of spiritually restless a little bit. And that has become a kind of concern for me. I was wondering, I was like, damn, is this like withdrawal from literal workaholism? I was like getting really concerned because I do know that I tend to work a lot and work really hard, even when I'm not in graduate school. And it is very difficult for me to, again, let go, kick back and relax. And but there are times when it's important to kick back and relax and decompress and just let your brain rest. Let your brain stop firing on all cylinders all day, every day, and just kind of let it be. Just let it exist for a little bit, just to focus on your breathing, focus on yourself, focus on like your existence. And I have found that to be quite a challenge in the past couple of weeks. So I'm still working on it. Ironically, I probably will not master the art of doing nothing until right before it's time to go back to school. I guarantee you that's when it's going to happen, and it's going to be really annoying and frustrating. But I'm still working on that. But yes, as you guys know, grad school has certainly been very much basically in my ass this whole semester. But this past week, now that I don't have that looming over me, these are the things that I've been getting done. Obviously, still maintaining on a day-to-day basis the New Adult Noir giveaway, which is going fantastically, amazingly. We now have over 63,000 downloads across all the box sets and across all the individual books on InstaFreebie. And again, it's just really blowing my mind. It's very, to me, it's incredible. The number of downloads, but also like the growth of New Adult Noir and the growth of the giveaway. And it's just nice to see the fruit of my labor. I'm seeing the blossoms coming out after like a long winter of hard work and cold and loneliness. And that's wonderful. And just as an FYI, just to remind you guys, the giveaway for both the 25 days of prize drawing, as well as the 25 days of box sets downloads is open until the 31st of this month at 11:59 p.m. my time. All right. So if you guys haven't joined that giveaway yet, either parts of that giveaway, join as soon as you can at newadultnoir.com. That's newadultnoir.com. And get your free books, get your free reads. It's a free Christmas gift. Enjoy your Christmas and, basically go and get your Christmas gifts, and also enter for a chance to win one of 25 fantastic prizes. Again, we have KU subscriptions for Kindle Unlimited, free audiobooks, free swag, free gift cards, free cash gifts, free Amazon Prime memberships. So go, 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 go. And so, yeah, basically I've been just managing the New Adult Noir giveaway for the past week. But I've also been able to get quite a bit done in other areas. So I haven't really been writing. I've been... That's the one thing that, I haven't really felt too pressured to do and to finish. But I have been working on my stories through a lot of plotting and world building, specifically plotting out Ezekiel's storyline for Hollow Point. And that's actually already fully plotted, but I had to make like some adjustments because we have at least 4 other main POV characters in that story, and I want to make sure that these storylines are interacting and intersecting where necessary and in a way that makes sense. I also did quite a bit of marketing. This is very interesting, just how the marketing has been unfolding in the past week. I have decided, not really for this year, maybe for next year, like first quarter, that I really want to reboot the introductions to both this podcast and my Bohemian Badass podcast, the Be Badass podcast. And so I went shopping for podcast intros so that I can buy the music and then, mix and match and, remix them in either Adobe Premiere or Avid or Audacity or something like that, and just create a brand new podcast intro. So that's something I've just started looking into. I'm not trying to finish it before the year's out. That is too much stress and drama, but it's something I'm definitely looking forward to getting into for next year. So I started the research on that. I also continue formatting the paperback version of The Given. So that's another thing that I do want to get done in the first quarter of next year, is to create a paperback version of The Given as well as The Taken, because right now they are both in ebook and audiobook format, but they do not have paperback companion formats. So I'm going to work on that. I've been working on that. Some other cool stuff I've been doing. I'm actually in the middle of an application for foreign rights for this at this place called IPR License, which is basically run by the Frankfurt Book Festival or the Frankfurt Book Fair, I believe. And they have basically a world global platform for publishing presses and houses that want to submit their backlists for consideration for the sale of foreign rights. And foreign rights and translations and stuff like that. Honestly, as an independent publisher, I'm personally not interested at all in handling foreign rights and in handling translations and distribution into foreign countries. It's just a lot of work, and sometimes it can yield very little to very few results, and it can be not as fruitful as you would like it to be as a publisher. And it's just better to hand your work off, in my opinion, to foreign publishers and markets that just know their country's market better. For me personally, I'm way more familiar with the United States market than I am with any other country, and that's because I live here. I consume books here. I read here. I have connections with authors here. I read here. I know what's out in the news. I know what's going on in the industry. I have access to all these trade magazines and online publications and blog articles in my country. So I decided that instead of trying to handle foreign translations and rights for my own brands and my own franchises, I'm just going to upload the backlist, my copywritten backlist to IPR license if I get confirmed for a membership, and just put my franchises on the world market and just see how they do. So that's going to be a part of my marketing plan from 2018 and beyond. And I will keep updating you guys on, whether or not that's fruitful in and of itself. Another interesting thing that I've been doing for the past week regarding marketing has actually had a lot to do with Facebook. For one, I finally, after, 2 years of trepidation, studying, and kind of figuring this out from the shadows, I finally set up pixels on Facebook, both on Facebook and on my Colby R. Rice website and my New Adult Noir website, so that I can see what the traffic is looking like, how often the pixels fired, and what kind of audiences were visiting my blogs and consuming my work and my books. And for one of the pixels, I actually, in the first week to 2 weeks, my pixel fired almost 17,000 times. So I'm just like, oh crap, like literally I've been missing out on all of this traffic. I don't know for how long, but yeah, so I definitely need to start understanding who's coming to my website, find a way to retarget them and redirect them to opt into my mailing list, get my free books, just figure out who my readers are and start developing an actual fan base. And so that has been an enlightening moment for me. I know for a lot of you out there who are already deeply involved in SEO and marketing and Facebook ads and things like that, you guys are already familiar with pixels, but I've been staying away from Facebook ads specifically because I felt personally that those ads would not be helpful to me unless I had a larger backlist where I could actually track the ROI of not only each book, but also of each series. And so because I only have 2 books released in one series right now, basically using too many Facebook ads, in my opinion, would not yield a major ROI. I honestly want to wait until my backlist has grown a little more. But in the meantime, the pixels themselves, just being on the website, is giving me a lot of insight to what the audiences are looking like. So when I go and create a lookalike audience in Facebook, let's say I did want to see what my audience looked like, I can just go start creating an ad and select and tell Facebook to create a lookalike audience for those people who are visiting my website. And Facebook will be able to tell me who's actually coming to my website. I have a feeling that it's going to skew towards older men, because I think that that's the group that tend to like my books a little bit more. I don't think I have a necessarily massive female fan base because my books are really gritty and gory. I'm not saying that women can't handle it, but romance tends to be more popular with women. Yeah, I'm excited to actually look into the data and see who's going to my website. I haven't checked it out yet. I just know that my pixel has been firing quite a bit. So that's really interesting. In addition to installing pixels and exploring ads and things like that, I also have signed up both my blog and Rebel Ragdoll Productions for a Facebook watch page. Especially considering the fact that I do have this very consistent weekly podcast series for you guys detailing my creative journey. But I also eventually would love to be able to stream my content from Rebel Ragdoll Productions, my feature films, my TV series, the film shorts, anything that we're writing, directing, producing, and distributing through Rebel Ragdoll Productions. I do want it to have a platform at Facebook Watch. Now, mind you, I'm not a major content creator. I barely make a blip in the pond, compared to all these other content creators out here. And that's fine for me. But that might play a major role in whether or not Facebook chooses my brand or the Rebel Ragdoll Productions brand for a Facebook watch page. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm definitely exploring that part. And then the last thing I'm exploring with Facebook is looking into Facebook business pages. Rather Facebook business as a whole. And it's really given me my entire life because I have several pages on Facebook, including the one for the press, the one for the Rebel Ragdoll Productions, Chick Rogue Studios, Kobe R. Rice, the Bohemian Badass, and several others that I've been managing individually like a dummy when I could have been managing them from one hub the entire time if I had just checked out Facebook business earlier. But, better late than never. Now I have Facebook business and I've added both my real profile and my pen name profile as admins to my Facebook business hub, and I can manage literally all of my pages, all of my ad sets and ad accounts and everything on Facebook from that one place. The only thing that I can't manage actually is my Facebook group for New Adult Noir and for Off-World, which I hope at some point they do decide to add groups to that feature, but we'll see. For now, Facebook business is really, really amazing, and I love being able to go into one dashboard and see everything in front of me and manage everything right then and there. That's really amazing. So marketing has been going very well for this week. Another thing that's been going really well and is kind of exciting is that for the Bohemian Badass, I just commissioned a brand new logo. It was actually due back today, but he is not finished with it yet, which is totally fine. It's Christmas. I didn't even expect it today. I actually expected it maybe tomorrow or the next day. But a new logo, brand new for the Bohemian Badass, and brand new branding for the Bohemian Badass are on their ways. And I am super excited because the way that I art designed the logo is just amazing. I just love it. I see the concept in my head. It's just about my artist being able to bring it to life on paper. So stay tuned for that. We will certainly be getting an update on that as of Sunday, as well as on the blog. Let's see. I've also been working on the Blackheart Boulange brand, which includes the Blackheart Bakery and the Blackheart Boudoir. Basically, just developing the websites. Even though I use WordPress as the one-click install and as the template database for each of my websites. Setting up a new theme and setting up a new website, it takes a lot of time because you have to come up with pictures and content and move things around and figure out what looks best for your website, add in your branding colors, choose your fonts if your theme allows you to do that, so on and so forth. So even with all the easy tools that we have at our disposal, wherein I don't have to program my website or develop it myself, I do have to design it myself based on the specifications on the theme. So I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you guys that they are in development. They look great thus far. I'm really excited. I'm really amped, and I can't wait to have my own products up there in place of the holder products I have on that site. But the websites look gorgeous, and I think that the Blackheart Boulange brand is going to do very, very well come October 2018. I feel it in my gut. So we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to set all the groundwork. And let's see. Creative Uni was on fleek this week because I sat quite a few marketing and list building classes. So, for example, I took this Instagram marketing class. It was a good class, but I kind of felt like it was also very basic in that, a beginner could sort of sit down and look at somebody else's brand who was super duper popular and sort of figure out the same things that this master class was telling you to do. And I'm not trying to hate on the master class, but I felt like it wasn't giving me information that felt completely new and fresh to me. So but it wasn't a waste of time. It just reinforced some principles that I already had in the back of my mind. And going into 2018, I'll definitely be focusing more on trying to build out my Instagram presence across all of my subsidiaries. I also did a viral hacking for list building masterclass, which was also semi-helpful in some ways. It was mostly advertising Up Viral, which is a really interesting viral sharing and lead generation software that I really actually love. I love its setup, the way that they allow you to do giveaways and promotions, and it's very unique. But I'm not really sure if it's worth the money yet, because I paid one price for King Sumo, and that seems to be working pretty well in terms of viral giveaway success. And so Up Viral provides some more, utilities and functions that I think are helpful for list building. But again, I'm not really sure if, those few benefits are worth the cost differential. Plus, Up Viral itself, they want a monthly subscription fee, whereas I only had to pay one fee for King Sumo. And again, it's working really well. So, it's going to take a lot for me to leap from King Sumo to a subscription-based service that only provides one or two few little, tweaks that are interesting. But if you guys are not already using King Sumo itself, you might want to check out Up Viral, because it might be really great for your lead generation and viral sharing needs. So Up Viral, that's UPVIRAL.com. Check that out. I also finished the How to Create a Story Workbook Masterclass, not because I didn't know how to create a story workbook, but because I always like looking at other people's processes, because then I figure out if there's anything missing from mine that I feel like is really helpful. And I actually got a few gems from this one workbook that I had downloaded a while back from goteenwriter.com. She's great. She writes, it's not just it's a collection of writers who write a bunch of really amazing articles and blog posts and have tutorials and classes on writing. You should definitely check it out when you get a chance. But there's also a downloadable freebie called Create a Story Workbook. And I definitely took some principles from how this individual develops her story workbook, and I started to apply it to how I'm going to continue to develop my world, my story Bibles, etc. And so, there was one particular template I found very, very helpful and useful. So you can check that out as well. What else did I do? I am currently halfway through J.A. Huss's The Perfect Story. And as usual, she's awesome and amazing, giving me lots of knowledge. There are a lot of things that she's talking about that I already am aware of as a writer. Not nearly as successful as she is, but certainly seasoned in terms of how long I've been out here writing and reading and practicing different methods and reading other people's methods and stuff. So I wasn't particularly, I wasn't surprised by a lot of the methods she used, but she tends to add her own twist to these methods that I find very interesting and helpful. So I am not regretting sitting through the class at all. And plus, just kind of hearing her knowledge and just absorbing her knowledge via osmosis is good enough for me. So it's a great class, and I'm halfway through it, and that's great. I also sat some more lessons in Aaron Sorkin's screenwriting masterclass. And I should be finishing that out actually before the new year comes through. And both he and Shonda Rhimes, whose class I started 2 weeks ago, have a very, very interesting and in-depth perspective on doing research, which really makes me reconsider the way in which I do research. And I don't feel like I'm lazy on my research at all, but they like to integrate, for example, real life interviews. Like they'll go out and they'll hit the pavement and they'll go and find, if their show is about, surgeons in a surgical residency, they will go not just read books and blogs and watch videos online, but they'll go and interview actual residents. And I mean, it's not surprising to me, but it just really made me raise my standards for my own research. And this is not to say I've never considered interviewing someone, but I definitely feel as though when it comes to my TV production and my film production, I do want to get out there and do some more real world interviews with professionals and other people who are involved in the worlds that I'm creating. So, and this is coming from both Shonda Rhimes and Aaron Sorkin. And I consider them both to be sheer geniuses. And my thing is that if they put that much effort and that much time and that much care into their research, there's no reason why I should not take that same time, effort, and care as well as a rising, burgeoning writer. So that's just kind of, they were setting for me a whole new bar, and I want to meet that standard for myself personally. And another thing I started doing was reading and analyzing scripts. So Saw, and I'm actually halfway through the Daredevil pilot. Not that I have that on hand, but I'm actually going through the pilot itself and analyzing the beats, classifying them into act breaks, looking at, how multiple plot lines are worked in, how characters are introduced, what the pacing looks like, etc. And then I'm looking at Saw because, as you guys know, I'm working on my own horror film and my own horror screenplay. And Saw is one of my favorite horror films, not necessarily because of the blood and gore, but because I think that the first movie was extremely well done, as well as the second movie. I mean, for me, you could take the blood out and I would still be very psychologically intrigued and haunted by the way that this franchise has been put together. At least for the first two movies. After that, it's kind of like, all right, y'all are just grabbing for money right now. But the first two movies are really, really great. And so just because I feel like it's necessary, I'm studying the script from a very analytical perspective. And so that's another way I'm engaging in personal, creative, and professional development. And then finally, I indulge in a little bit of creative organization. As you guys know, I take this time of year to really sit back and think about 2017, but I also take some time to work with 2018 and start planning. So in addition to working on my 2017 achievements blog post, I also worked on my 2018 goals. I started I finished the 2018 content and editorial calendar for the blogs and the podcast that I'm running. And then I also created a 2018 writing log. And that part is actually what I got from the Create Your Story workbook class. Is just keeping a writing log. And I usually do that every day anyway. As you guys know, I manically keep track of what I do each day. But I really want to have one separate document dedicated specifically to writing. And the way that the story workbook class showed me the way that they set up their writing routine and their writing log, I really appreciated it because the woman who created the entire workbook herself put in the date, the title, the time she sat down to write, the time she got up and finished writing, the number of words, the location of the writing session, and also special notes. And her reasoning for putting all that into the worksheet is that she can now start to develop an understanding of where she works best and at what times she works best. Or even if she's working morning, noon, and night, when does she write the most words in a day? What projects get the most work? What projects get the least amount of work? And so I really enjoyed the way that she set that writing log up. And so I completely borrowed her template and I'm going to put it into my own 2018 sort of protocol in terms of tracking what I write more closely. I definitely track my word count whenever I have a word count for the day. But I'd never tracked it as meticulously as she does. And I really appreciate that. And I'm going to use that for 2018. So that was for the past week. That was, oh my gosh, the first half an hour. Can we get through the Q4 roundup in the second part of this? Let's try. Okay, so I already told you about New Adult Noir, right? And that's been going on pretty much since the beginning of October. You guys already know where we are with that. My most successful giveaway ever is running right now, and I'm super excited about that. And if you want to know more about New Adult Noir and its inception and development for 2017, definitely feel free to check out my 2017 roundup on Sunday. And there's a whole section of the blog dedicated to New Adult Noir, both in written format and in video format. So there's something for everybody there. Definitely did a lot of plotting this quarter, looking at Hollow Point as well as The Haunt. That's one thing that I am very proud of, is that even though I haven't been able to get the word count that I want, my mental focus is still primarily on the Books of Ezekiel series and on those particular books 3 and 4, which are supposed to be coming up next in the series. So I'm excited about the progress that I've made on that. Let's see what else. I told you actually everything about what I've been doing for marketing. Oh, hold on a second. I'm looking completely at the wrong the wrong section. Let me get it all the way together. Okay. So in addition to developing the websites for the Black Heart Boulange, I also started to do a lot of research on the requirements, the health requirements and the legal requirements of having a home bakery in my house for the Black Heart Bakery. And so I'm on top of that. I told you guys in another podcast that I wanted to be as legit as possible so that you guys feel safe eating my delicious cookies. And I've just been doing like a lot of research and development on the actual product lines and the flavor lines. And I haven't been going too wild and crazy. The product lines are going to be very limited for 2018. I might even just have 2 cookies and cookie mixes, just to keep it simple. But I'm still kind of actively thinking about the product lines and developing certain flavors and things like that. And that's what's been happening for the Black Heart Boulange in Q4. Let's see. In addition, let's go back to New Adult Noir really quickly. In addition to the major 25 Days of Box Sets giveaway, don't forget I also hosted 2 free book promos and 2 more series discovery promos in October and November, which was insane. And as you guys may know, I will be moving from series discovery promos to audiobook promos next year. So that's really exciting. Let's go back. I guess I'll talk about graduate school because it's sort of inevitable here. No, let's not talk about graduate school just yet. Let's talk about writing because I touched on that for just a minute. So for this quarter, I got 10,601 words finished and written. Failed miserably at finishing NaNoWriMo 2017, but I did try out some really amazing storytelling software called Causality, which is supposed to be for script writing. And it's a great software, but right now there's like a pretty big learning curve in my personal opinion. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it. And it's hard for me to test out in its entirety because I can't save my manuscript or my script rather unless I pay the $249 licensing fee to buy the software. So I'm only on like a trial version, but I can't test out all aspects of the trial version. So, I'm not saying I have to have like a completely free version to understand how to use it, but to sort of know what the end like product will be, I kind of need to save the script. Like you can't even save a copy of it in the program unless you buy the program. So if I decide to invest in that, I will let you guys know more about that in the future. But writing has been going okay. 10,000 words is nothing to sort of sniff at, but again, it's definitely a goal I would like to increase by 500% at the least, because in the summertime I was hitting a monthly quota of over 20,000 words per month, and that's kind of where I want to be generally. A lot of shadow development for pretty much all the properties that have been on my mind. The Immortal TV series, I revamped the plot for Rose and John Doe's and the character. I mean, she's more badass now, in my opinion. I worked more on the language that I created for the Books of Ezekiel. I also did some more research for the Asylum trilogy, as well as more world building. I did more development, obviously, for the Books of Ezekiel as a whole. And I included some things I learned in graduate school in the plot line with regard to like no theater and kabuki, which I'm really excited about. And then I also shadow developed the Right Hand TV series, which is something that we're going to be working on way down the line at Rebel Ragdoll Productions. And then I also developed some of the backstory for Raiden's Lot a little bit more, which is another series that's going to come way down the line. And I talked to you guys about Immortal as well in the past, but that's probably going to be our debut independent TV series when it is time to produce TV series at Rebel Ragdoll. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm off doing all these other projects and not focusing on the main projects. It's just like, as ideas pop into my head, as I'm living life, as I'm discovering new things about myself, about the world, about my ideas, and about my creativity, those little mini epiphanies I have to get down on paper or on the screen, on the blank Word doc. I have to get down. Otherwise, it'll slip out of my mind. And once I sit down and I start writing, I'm usually sitting down for a good 2 to 3 hours and working on that project. So that happened at various points with the Immortal property, with the At His Right Hand property, with the Books of Ezekiel property. So because I'm not working on most of those projects with any sort of solid deadline in place, I call that shadow development. Just developing each of those a little bit at a time, over time, until they fully form in my subconscious and are ready to be written. So a lot of that was happening. And I don't know, to me, that feels like progress because it's pushing forward sort of everything all at once. Even though my writing and my word count are focused specifically on the Books of Ezekiel. So for the most part. What else did I do this quarter? Let's see, writing, shadow development. I did marketing. So some interesting things. And I'm not going to re-mention the other things I just talked about in this past week's update. But you guys might know me well enough at this point to know that being a bestseller on the New York Times or USA Today lists has never been a major priority for me in terms of my career. However, I am not one to pass up an opportunity if it comes across my table, which it has. One of my former collaborators, who's still a collaborator of mine, and like author pals, wants to do a USA Today run with 22 other authors, including which in addition to himself and me, who are all writing in sci-fi and fantasy genres. And so for 2018, I am happy to announce, at least thus far, that we will be making a USA Today bestseller list run between us and like all the other authors who will be in this endeavor. And so I'm super excited about it. If it works, that's awesome. And I can then be a USA Today bestseller, which is amazing. If it doesn't, then it's still all good. I still know 22 more authors than I did before. And it will still be a really fun, awesome marketing opportunity. And it makes me kind of glad that I started clearing out my schedule for 2018 in terms of marketing. Because as you guys know, the plan is to really cut back on a lot of the big major pushes and the major newsletter swaps and the major cross collabos, and just to focus on developing a more rabid fan base. But now, since I have decided to pull back on those other marketing sort of endeavors, I can focus on, goal specific endeavors like this one, which is the USA Today bestseller run. So, I'll keep you guys posted on that. That should be really exciting. That's not coming up until 2018. And another thing that's coming up in 2018 that I am a part of, or got to be a part of this last quarter, is that 3 other authors want to collaborate with me and amongst each other to do a 4-way author co-collaboration on one novel in one shared world. So I'm really excited about that. Lindsay Boroker, Jay Thorne, Joanna Penn, and I think Zach Bohannon. I think that's his name. I'm sorry if I screwed it up, Zach, for that 4th person. They came together earlier this year to do a collaboration novel in one shared world. And it was great. Like, they did a really great job. And so I actually had never considered doing that myself because I'm sort of a lone wolf when it comes to my writing. But another author tapped me and a couple of other authors to be a part of a similar project. So I'm really excited. And that's another thing that I've just experienced and am noticing in this past year is that the more I reach out, the more that I talk to people, the more that I show that I'm on point and that I really care about my career and that like I can write, the more opportunities become available. It really is about making friends, like real friends, not just networking just for the sake of networking, but making real friends and responsible partnerships with other people in the industry so that you guys can come together and do amazing things. So those two 2018 projects I will be focusing on very heavily in 2018, but they are starting. The seeds of them are kind of starting and taking root right now. So that's what's been happening in terms of marketing in a really interesting way in this past quarter. Let's see. Marketing, shadow development, writing. Let's go into Creative Uni really quick. I did a whole bunch of classes from Shonda Rhimes' TV writing masterclass, which I'm only part of the way through. I will finish that in 2018. I will be finishing J.A. Huss's The Perfect Story this week, as well as Aaron Sorkin's screenwriting class this week. I also dipped my toe into Hans Zimmer's film scoring masterclass, which was really fun. I just kind of opened it just to see what it was about. That will not be finished until like mid 2018, probably in the summertime when I get bored of everything else. But I also did some financial investment and business management master classes. So I really enjoyed Rosetta Thurman's 3 Ways to Get Out of Overwhelm in Your Business, which I need all day, every freaking day, because, you know, you guys know I'm in a whole bunch of different things all the time. And I do tend to get overwhelmed occasionally, and I just need to take a step back. And so that masterclass really helped me with that. How to start a business while working a full-time job. Like, I already sort of know how to do that, but I just love going over some of the basics because it just reminds me that I'm not alone out there in terms of like the hustle and in terms of the difficulties and challenges I'm facing. Let's see. Looking at classes on like, don't look for your dream job, get your own stuff going, establish your own business and corporation, which I really love. Looking at, there was a great class that I took called How to Buy Property Even If You Can't Afford a Down Payment. Me with my broke graduate student behind. And I really got a lot of great information, so much so that I am strongly considering putting money together with my siblings so that we can make our first property purchase in New York come 2018, which would be absolutely amazing in terms of investments, in terms of passive income, and just in terms of just building up that nest egg, as we've been talking about. Wealth building for artists, it's important. I also finished Gordon Ramsay's cooking masterclass, which gave me my entire life. I never knew how to make poached eggs before. I always screwed it up. And now I can make a perfect poached egg. Thank you, Gordon Ramsay. He has an amazing recipe. I also know how to make elevated scrambled eggs, which is an amazing, delicious recipe. I made some pretty good eggs, but Gordon Ramsay really raised my standards. And he also teaches a lot of other really amazing techniques, like how to make beef Wellington, how to make lobster ravioli, how to just like, not just like how to make amazing dishes, but just how to engage in kitchen basics, like cutting and, you know, like julienning versus dicing, you know, just things like that. Kitchenware, kitchen materials, kitchen just things that are needed. Yeah, it's nice. He really goes from the basics to the more advanced methods, and I think it's a great class to take. This wasn't for any sort of professional training. It was really just me indulging in and engaging in one of my hobbies for a change. Finally, for a change, doing something that I can just do for the love of it, as opposed to like it being work. Not that, I mean, I love work too, though. Don't get me wrong. So I took more classes at the Black Business School. I finished the Black Money 103, Building a Strong Black Brand and Business class, which was amazing. Again, reinforcing a lot of the principles that I already know, that I've discovered over my infopreneur studies from 2015 and beyond, but I love being reminded and being refreshed of these things like as much as possible. I took a lot of courses and sat a lot of seminars on cryptocurrency, but I'm going to sit them again. I am really watching the Bitcoin market the Bitcoin market, the blockchain and Bitcoin trend very closely. And right now, as I sort of mentioned before, like Bitcoin is a little bit too cray-cray for me right now. I'd like to get in on the ground floor of like a new innovative coin that has a lot of potential to grow in an ethical, substantial way. And so now I'm trying to learn more about cryptocurrency, more about blockchain, but also study a lot of the new ICOs that are out there. For those of you who don't know what an ICO is, that's the initial coin offering. Essentially, it's like an IPO, but like with like cryptocurrency. So still looking into that. I'm not pretending to be an expert at all. Honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around a lot of the concepts. And until I feel as though I am fluent in those concepts and fluent in that language, I think I'm going to sort of, I wouldn't say wait forever, but invest very judiciously and conservatively. Let's put it that way. Stock market is different because I feel as though the stock market is it's not more mainstream, but like it's more colloquial because it's been around for so long. And you have all these experts out there who are basically taking the most complex ideas about the stock market and breaking them down into basic principles, which are very easy to find on the internet and on YouTube or whatever. Blockchain and Bitcoin, I think most people still don't even understand what it is, even though there is a logic, there is an actual mathematical, financial basis to the blockchain technology. I just don't think most people really understand it as fluently as they should and are sort of jumping the gun when it comes to investing. So I want to invest, but slowly and as my knowledge grows. So we'll see. I'll look forward to that in the future. And let's see. And then, of course, I did like a lot of podcasts, the Creative Pen podcast, the Sci-Fi and Fantasy Marketing podcast, the Indie Film Hustle podcast. I'm always trying my best to learn, even if it's in a passive manner. Directing, dramaturging. I always get this wrong. Directing, dramaturgy, and producing. I finished out one major project, which was for my contemporary trends class, with regard to directing and dramaturgy and devising. And I started 3 more, not because I just wanted to for kicks, but essentially we have 3 shows, 3 productions in 2018 going on, and we have to start the groundwork and the research and the recruitment and the casting now. So the 3 projects that I will be either co-directing or co-dramaturging are the Dream Slam Poetry session that will happen during the MLK Day in January of 2018 between me and Teray Fowler-Chapman. A piece that I am writing about Sir Morian, who was the only Black /African /Moor knight of Arthur's Round Table, who is, of course, very rarely mentioned, and when he is, he's always whitewashed, right? Because our show in the spring is going to deal with King Arthur's legends, and of course, I had to go, find the one Black knight who was whitewashed into oblivion, because that's just how I roll. I need to find some reflection of myself and my work. And I need to always be illuminating a truth and teaching myself and others about just what's going on in the world, whether it's real or it's fantastical, like in King Arthur's Tales. So that little piece will be called Morian, and it's going to be a part of a larger piece on King Arthur's Round Table. And then I also have connected again with Teray on a play that we will be developing together. Literally from idea all the way to full stage production the entire year of 2018. My MFA program basically has a course going on in the spring, this coming spring, called New Play Development. And we will each be paired up with playwrights who are working on their own pieces, and we're supposed to serve as the dramaturgs to the playwright. Serve as support, serve as the objective perspective, serve as the editor, serve as the developmental eye, serve as the thematic eye. We're supposed to break open the play. We're supposed to do the research for the work and talk to them about, just all of the foundational aspects of their work that need to be done. And in my case in particular, being a Black playwright and a Black dramaturg and a Black artist, me working with Teray, I'm also supposed to be bringing out that cultural nuance that is so important to, in my opinion, in the Black theater tradition. So that's going to be really exciting. So the spring is going to be filled with basically us developing her piece together and me being a very strong support system for her. Summertime, I assume she will be editing the piece with me as an intermittent support. Giving feedback on new copies and new drafts. And then in the fall, we'll be having a workshop session for her piece where I will be dramaturging a workshop session. She will be there as the artist and the playwright, basically seeing the play being staged in front of her so that she knows what kind of things she needs to make improvements on, cut out, keep in, develop, etc. And I will also be the liaison between her and the director. And then from there, as she makes more and more changes, we will then stage the actual piece in a final full production. So literally from January all the way up until right before Thanksgiving, I'm going to be working with Teray on this brand new piece, and I can not be more excited about it. I'm just super amped. In addition to that entire process, which will be happening through me, Teray, and the graduate program, I also will be in the workshop process. I will be able to direct another one of my colleagues' playwrights' work. So we each get to dramaturg our own playwrights' work, but then we get to be the director of one of our colleagues' playwrights' work. So I'll have directing experience under my belt, and then I'll have even more dramaturgy experience under my belt. So each of these three opportunities are providing some level of writing, dramaturgical, and directorial experience, and I'm very excited about it, honestly. And I will also be able to bring my daughter to rehearsal, which is great because that was a major concern for me, whether or not I'd be able to find a babysitter that I could afford every single night that I have to be at rehearsal, because that could be very prohibitive for single mothers. So, but my program has been super supportive of the fact that I'm a single mom, and they have no problem with me bringing my daughter. And even on the days where I have to be completely focused on my playwright or focused on directing, like my cohort members have even offered to watch my daughter, which is great. And I do trust them, and we're all women and they're all great. So it was wonderful. So I'm looking forward to 2018 in terms of directing and dramaturgy. Let's see. We're coming close to the end, y'all. We're getting there. Okay, so blogging update. We hit episode number 50 of the Epic Fantastical Journey of a Black Female Sci-Fi Writer podcast, and that was really exciting because, like, I've never hit 50 episodes of a podcast before. A while back, I had started Rebel Ragdoll Radio. And I think we got to like 22 episodes before I changed up the direction of everything that was happening on the blog, on the podcast, and on the site. And now I feel like I've finally hit a podcast that I feel very committed to and feel very like I have a protocol for. And that's really exciting. I also have another channel called Unapologetically Melanated Media Crit. And I do want to develop that channel on YouTube in terms of looking at what's going on in media and in entertainment and talking about it. Not in sort of like a gossipy way, but in sort of a sociological and analytical, semi-gossipy way. And I really do want to develop that a little bit more as I see, different projects and different things unfolding in entertainment. I am less concerned about celebrity gossip than I am about what content is being put out there in the world. So, for example, looking at new Black creators, new creators of color, moves that are happening for actors and writers of color between different shows, how I feel about different shows, maybe bringing back some of my reviews. I used to do some pretty cool reviews of Scandal, which I dropped off on because it was just hard to keep up. And just finding the shows that really resonate with me, and giving reviews on that, giving sociological and Black-based insight, and just posting that up on YouTube. I really enjoy that. So I think I'm going to develop the Unapologetically Melanated Media Crit channel even more on YouTube. So, and I did that a couple times this year with a few videos. I'm also starting another vlog dealing with being a single mother and giving inspiration and support and love to other single mothers. But it will have a special twist of also being focused on single mom creatives like myself. And I'm really looking forward to that channel. That's going to be opening up under the Dollhouse brand in 2018. And I've already started developing that this year. How do I do all this and not collapse? I actually feel like I am about to collapse. So let me just close this up really quick. Let me wrap this up. This is getting so freaking long. So let's talk about grad school personal theater projects, and then I'm going to end with Rebel Ragdoll because it's always good to end with your own thing. Grad school this semester, pretty much this entire quarter from October all the way to December, has been dominated by graduate school. I read a lot of plays. I think in total for the whole year, I've read 25 plays this year, and I read about half of them in this semester. And it's been very educational. I mean, a lot of the plays I didn't like, and a lot of them I did. And I have my reasons for each, but it's just been interesting being exposed to the plays as a direct reflection of the time and the culture within which they were produced, because we're taking theater history courses and classes and things like that. And just to read about the history and the culture of a time, and then also be able to read a play as an example of that culture and time, is really great. I mean, I don't always appreciate it in the moment, but I'm looking back on it, I feel as though I understand those cultural and historical cross sections of history even more because I've seen a primary source that has come out of that part of history. So that's been really great. A big major boon of this entire fact is that I've been introduced to some amazing, incredible multicultural work in a limited way. I mean, I was only exposed really to some work that came out of Spain as well as Japan. So we studied Loa to the Divine Narcissus, which I thought was a very interesting perspective for a play to take. It was written by a woman, Sor Juana something. Sister Juana, I forget her last name. We also studied No theater as well as Kabuki. So I read a No play, which is actually not even meant to be read. It's meant to be seen. And then I also read Chushingura, which is the 37 Samurai. I'm so mad that I can't remember the number of samurai. It's a lot of damn samurai. But that's a Kabuki play, which is also meant to be seen. And I just really enjoyed getting that taste of culture, of melanin, even if it's limited melanin, just getting a taste of different ways in which theater is done was really inspiring for me, so much so that I have integrated the No and Kabuki theater into the books of Ezekiel, because as you guys know, Caleb Rai, who's one of my main protagonists, is half Japanese. His family is full Japanese. But just being exposed even more to a very specific part of that culture, as an art form of that culture, is even better. I love it. And I don't think that I'm just writing about this Japanese family without doing research, but the No and the Kabuki theater was sort of my first foray into that. And most of the series that I've written thus far doesn't focus on the Japanese culture part. It will eventually, but that's the reason why I haven't done much research on it quite yet. It's because they haven't come up in any major way quite yet. So that's coming. But I'm excited that grad school in certain ways is really informing a lot of my art. And we'll get into how that is actually happening more directly in just a few minutes. But this semester, this quarter, I also finished the Addams Family production, doing the pre-show, the program note, the post-show, which was very successful, the pre-show. I was really happy about how that went. I edited literally 5 different short scenes / films this semester in my editing class, which made me feel like a fucking ninja when it came to like editing skills. Obviously, I'm not going to win any Oscars anytime soon or get hired at any of the major post-production houses. But I had such a wide, diverse range of education when it came to editing this semester. The teacher for that class was incredible, and so I was able to edit like a bunch of short scenes that were narrative. I was able to do some montage editing, some documentary editing, a short student film I actually edited from beginning to end. And I could definitely make some more improvements, especially when it comes to sound. But like I did that, and then I edited my first action scene, which dealt with a lot of the same principles and basic principles, but there were many more to learn to edit that action scene, and that was an extra project I had to do as the graduate student in that class, and the only one in that class. I had to basically take an entirely another track of learning and apply it to a final project that only I had to do at the end of the semester. And that action scene is the bomb diggity. I mean, it could be better, absolutely, but I was really impressed, and so was my professor. He said, compared to where you were at the very beginning and that you didn't have any editing experience, this is very impressive. I mean, he did make his comments because he does not hold back on like what needed to be improved and what did not work, but in all, he was actually really impressed by the quality of the scene, as was I. And I was really proud of the Foley placement. I really enjoyed using Foley and stuff like that. It was just great. So I learned a lot in graduate school. Just so many different skills that I'm still reflecting on. Like even just holding and directing a rehearsal, it was like really awesome. Although I feel like I could have done better there as well. I also finished my Titus Andronicus protocol, at least like a first run of it. I know there's way more to do for that protocol. But it's a nice way to start off the groundwork for what eventually is going to become a 6-film adaptation of Shakespeare's Roman history plays. And I'm not going to go back into this for this episode, but in episode number 50, I talked about the ways in which I reread Shakespeare and his canon, which includes the 4 plays, Coriolanus, Antony and Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, and Titus Andronicus, and how those plays are often underestimated because they're not read in the proper order or in the proper context, nor are they read with the proper understanding. And so I basically made a discovery about the order and the context and the understanding of those 4 plays. And based on my personal understanding, I've completely revolutionized the way that I think about Shakespeare, and that revolution in thought has then led to an entirely new project that I want to adapt on my own based on those 4 plays. So if you're interested in hearing more about my scholarly interpretation of Shakespeare and his work, especially on the 4 Roman plays, and you want more details as to how I am turning the current scholarship on its head, or at least trying to, go back to that episode and listen to rereading Shakespeare, because I really feel like I'm kind of onto something, but I still have to do more research on it. And that's not to pat myself on the back, but it's just something I'm really excited about that I sort of stumbled across in my studies. Now, I talked about how these things have led into my personal theater projects. And honestly, this semester has been incredible for spawning new ideas in the theater. I literally decided this semester that, one, I wanted to do a Baptist church musical adaptation of Tartuffe. That was one project. The Addams Family musical, my work on that, and me being able to like see the script and the score and like kind of dramaturg all of that really helped to underscore some of my knowledge on how to write musicals and deal with musical theater. My work on my contemporary trends doll piece in my class really helped to kind of reignite this desire to write a musical theater piece. So that has really been kind of bubbling inside of me all semester. And so I think one branch of study I'm going to branch out into come to late 2018, early 2019 is studying more about how to write musical theater. And I'm excited about that. I also added a play trilogy to my project slate because of all the work I was doing this year, dealing specifically with the Black experience, and I'm super excited about it. I've pitched it to two of my colleagues, and they're excited about it. So there are a lot of things that are really opening up and evolving inside of me as an artist and as a potential theater artist, just because I'm in this program. So I'm really grateful for that. Despite the fact that my first year, I complained my way all the way through. But yeah, I definitely have been growing a lot and in a good way because of the program. Having said that, if you guys listen to episode number 50, you also will realize that I do not desire to create art within the program at all. I realize that graduate school is a really great place to learn skills and to give inspiration and to trigger things and to ignite you. But for me, the bureaucracy, the politics, and the tomfoolery, and then the scholarly perspective versus the artistic perspective conversation, those are all too much for me to handle in terms of creating my own art. I think that I want to create my own stuff outside of graduate school, but while I'm here, I'm going to continue to learn and continue to be inspired and create projects and then put them on my project slate for later, for after I freaking graduate. And having said that, after I graduate or even during the summer, I am interested in doing residencies and workshops in directing and in musical theater because I know nothing about writing musical theater, and I know very little at this point with a growing knowledge of directing. And I would love to just be thrown into a workshop or into some kind of learning creative class environment where I'm being taught these skills. So that's something that has I've opened myself up to that and to those possibilities in the future. So all good things really came out of this particular quarter, and I'm super excited about it. And the final thing, of course, ending with my own personal twist and my own personal anecdotes dealing with Rebel Ragdoll. Rebel Ragdoll for Q4 was looking pretty solid. No major strides, but, I was able to get clarity on many things with regard to Rebel Ragdoll. So one, you guys might have remembered that I actually finally figured out what the legal structure of my entire company should be, which is important when you're trying to keep things, legit, legal, and protect yourself and your assets, right? So Rebel Ragdoll, as you guys know, will be the holding company, and we'll have 10 operating companies underneath it, basically, and they'll all be LLCs. And I'm talking to a lawyer come January, actually, who will give me some insight, because I already have the appointment made, who will give me insight as to the exact paperwork process to go through to get Rebel Ragdoll to, quote, buy out the majority stock. Not the majority stock, but the majority ownership of the other operating companies. Because that's really the only way that a holding company holds dominion over operating companies, is that the holding company has to literally, legally, on paper, own those operating companies, as far as I know. So I'm going to find out more about how to file the actual paperwork as the CEO of Rebel Ragdoll to actually legally set all of these things up in the proper way. I also hired a virtual assistant. I talked to you guys about that a week or two ago, and it worked pretty well as a good test run. I think that I will definitely be hiring more assistants on a pay-per-project basis. And I have already created an Asana account. That's ASANA. It's amazing. It's incredible for team management. If you are a manager, director, a CEO, you have VAs working under you, Asana is the place to go to manage your projects. Absolutely. And so I set up everything in Asana that needs to be set up so that I can add my virtual assistants in come 2018, and they can just pick their projects, claim them, finish them, and after they finish them, I will pay them. And I manage it all through one dashboard on Asana, and so that's been really great. Of course, I added more projects to the development slate. I already told you about the theater projects I added, but I also added a new horror screenplay trilogy / mini series, which is going to be called Cape Cod for now, because it's based on a nightmare that I had, which was insane, but it was like a really scary but really amazing nightmare in terms of that it could really just like be a movie. So yeah, it is going to be a movie at some point. So that's on the slate. Based off of Cape Cod, I also developed sort of like a little spin-off horror mini series or horror TV series that I would love to produce at Rebel Ragdoll at some point. It doesn't have a name yet, but it does have a description and sort of ideas floating around it. And it's helping to bring together a lot of disparate horror ideas that are already on my Rebel Ragdoll Productions project slate. So that's really great. As I told you guys, I added the musical to the project slate, as well as the play trilogy and the 6-film adaptation that's based on Shakespeare's Roman history plays. So that's pretty much what's been going on this past week and for Q4. And as you can see from my face, I'm like literally popping my eyes open so I don't fall asleep at the computer. I am done. This is what's been going on for Q4. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I will be back with you guys on Sunday to give you an entire yearly update. I've already recorded 8 out of the 16 or 17 videos. Everything is written down and posted on the blog, but I have to just add the video content in there. And then I will append all of those into one single podcast for you guys to tune into. So stay tuned for that. Stay badass, stay indie. Go get your free books at newadultnoir.com. Go enter for a free chance to win one of 25 amazing prizes at newadultnoir.com. And I will see you guys on Sunday. Have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Bye.